Fear of failure is something that we've all experienced at some point of our lives. It's that little voice in the back of our head that says, what if I mess up? What if I fail? What if everything goes wrong? And this voice can be paralyzing and actually completely stop us from pursuing our goals. What if I told you that instead of letting that fear stop you, you can actually take all of that energy and use it for motivation? So in today's video, I'm going to share 3 strategies that will help you do just that. So instead of being held back and scared, you are going to be pushing to reach your full potential and propel yourself forward. But before we dive into today's content, I just want to remind you to grab your free mindset guide. If you want to build a strong and powerful mindset that propels you forward, empowering you to reach all of your goals and become the best version of yourself, this is the guide that you need to read. I cover all of the basics to do with mindset and it is absolutely free. So if you want to give it a read, you can download it with the link in the description. Anyway, let's get into the first strategy. And that is to reframe the way that you view failure. View failure as a learning opportunity. The reason why you're so scared of failure is because you view it as this big, terrifying thing. It's the end of the road. But that's not true. Not only is that mindset flawed, it is also harmful to you. Failure isn't the end of the road, it's just a stepping stone in your journey. Think about it. Every time you fail at something, you learn something. You might not have got the results that you want, but you did learn something. You got a lesson. And that is what is so important. When you fail, you gain valuable insights into what works and what doesn't. You learn to tweak your approach. You learn to shift your priorities. You become one step closer to achieving whatever it is that you want to achieve. Yes, it might not have gone the way that you wanted it to, but you weren't left with nothing. You will fail at things in life. It is inevitable, and we have to accept that. But failure isn't a bad thing. Don't be scared. Don't see failure as a reflection of your worth or your ability. Just because you failed at something doesn't mean that you're less of a person, doesn't mean that you aren't amazing, doesn't mean that you're not valuable. Instead, take it as feedback. Ask yourself, what went wrong? Why didn't it work out? What can I learn from this? What is this teaching me? How can I tweak my approach next time? How can I be better? This is the way that you need to approach failure. Otherwise, you will always be held back. Failure is a necessary part of the process. I don't think you're going to ever be good at something unless you failed multiple times. If you want to be good at something and if you want to be successful at something, you will have to fail. It's part of the process. That's all it is. It's part of the process. It's not the end of the process. Embodying this mindset will make failure way less intimidating and honestly sort of empowering. Because yeah, I didn't get it this time, but now I know better. Now I know a little bit more. I can try again. Maybe you fail again. I know a little bit more. I can try again. You keep going and going and learning, and that is how you grow. That process is growth. And actually, that matters more than reaching any end goal. The process of you becoming who you are becoming is more important than you reaching your goals. Because once you reach a goal, you're going to be like, alright, that's cool. What's next? And you'll realize it never was about the end product. It was about who you were becoming on the way. Every moment is as important as the next. So don't place so much emphasis and importance on failures because it's just part of the process, a beautiful process of your own growth. One practical way to implement this strategy is to keep a failure journal. So anytime you fail something, you can write it down and write down how that makes you feel and what you learned from it. And over time, you'll start to see that there are lessons in every failure. And as you learn this and you see this within your own life, this fear will start to diminish. And even if you do have that fear in the back of your mind, it's not going to dictate your actions. It's not going to hold you back from actually going after your goals because you'll have that understanding. It's just part of the process. So you can feel the fear, but do it anyway. The next strategy is to break down your fears using exposure therapy. Exposure therapy is a psychological method that includes you slowly, gradually exposing yourself to the thing that you fear. The idea is the more that you expose yourself to these things, the less power they have over you. And it works. It actually works very, very well. Start by identifying your fears and then brainstorm ways that you can slowly tackle those. How can you expose yourself to those in a controllable and manageable way? Once you have identified your fears, you just got to face them head on. And I don't mean throw yourself into some super scary situation that might cause you to break down from overwhelm. Do it in small little steps. Expose yourself to situations where failure is an option, but the consequences of it are very minimal. For example, if you're afraid of public speaking, you could start by practicing a speech in front of a mirror, and then maybe your family members and your friends, and progress from there. The goal is to desensitize yourself from that sense of fear so that it no longer controls your actions. And if you want to make this even more effective, combine it with positive reinforcement. So every time you step outside of your comfort zone and you push yourself just a little bit to face a fear, reward yourself. That way, your brain will start to associate being brave and pushing yourself out of your limits to these positive rewards, feeling proud of yourself, feeling happy, feeling accomplished, and that is what we want to help further us. Honestly, this is one of the best ways to grow. Tackle your fears. Life is way too short to be held back by fears, so identify what they are and go force yourself to get over them. Take my word for it, it will be one of the best things that you ever did for yourself. You realize that these fears aren't really that bad. These things aren't that bad. It's just self-induced. You're just worrying for no reason. When I first started my YouTube channel, I was terrified. I remember the first time I ever sat in front of this camera, I was upstairs in my room and I turned it on and I sat and stared at it like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to say? This is terrifying. I remember being terrified to post, deleting my posts and archiving them because I didn't like them anymore, the whole thing. But I knew that this is what I wanted to do, so I had to push myself. And eventually, you're like, oh, that's not even bad. And then you get good at it. Nothing ever grows in your comfort zone, so you have to push yourself to go outside of your comfort zone. Push your own limits, push your own boundaries. And yeah, it's scary, but fear is just a feeling. That's all it is. You gotta build that mental strength to be able to expose yourself to your fears and break them down. Otherwise, you will always be mediocre. Living a life where your fears hold you back is powerless. It's weak. You're being victim to your emotions, victim to your own mind. Your mind can be the greatest tool or your greatest enemy. So don't live a powerless life and don't be victim to your own mind. Take control over it and face those fears, face those emotions and face those difficult thoughts. But just start small. The last strategy is to use visualization to harness power. Visualization is such an amazing technique for conjuring specific feelings. The whole idea of it is that it helps you mentally prepare for success or failure. Most people use visualization to visualize success. Visualize what their life will be like in 5 years once they've worked on all of their goals and achieved everything that they wanted to do. You visualize the best version of yourself so that you know what you can work towards. But you can also use it to visualize failure. Don't get this confused with overthinking. You're not creating this narrative and getting lost in stress and fear. All you are doing is visualizing what the worst possible scenario would look like so that you could be mentally prepared for it. Visualize what would happen if you did fail. What would happen if the worst possible case scenario came true? And not only what would happen, but how would you deal with that? And how would you recover from that? And what would life be like after that? Once you visualize that, you will see that you could get through it. Whatever happened, you could get through it. Obviously, it's not going to be an ideal outcome, but you can survive it. So at least if you visualize, you're not going into situations completely blinded and not knowing what to expect. You have ran through all of the possible scenarios in your head and you are feeling prepared. You're feeling okay, whatever happens, you'll be good. By confronting these fears in your mind, you'll be less likely to be caught off guard if it happens to you in real life. Our minds can make us think that things going wrong will be extremely catastrophic and we will never recover, but that's just not true. We're just really dramatic. And once you can see that and play that out in your mind prior to it actually happening, if it does, you'll see that it's not that bad. It's not actually catastrophic, it's just our mind. It's just the mind trying to keep us safe. It's what the mind does. And then this fear will lose its grip on you. And that's what we want. Because remember, it's okay to feel the fear. It's normal, it's human to feel things. But you can't let the fear dictate your actions. So you can feel the fear, but do it anyway. And that's why you can feel all of these things, but know that this doesn't need to hold you back. It isn't going to be as catastrophic as you think it will be. And it's actually a learning opportunity, which makes it a good thing. It's just part of a process. That is how you turn your fear of failure into motivation, because you will no longer be held back. All of this limitation, it's stripped away from you. If you really embody the mindset of failure is just a learning opportunity, it's just part of the journey, you're going to feel this sense of intrinsic motivation that will push you to want to learn more. Accept that failure is normal, accept that it's not a bad thing, accept that it is useful, and you might even see yourself begin to seek out failure so that you can learn and experience and grow. That is how you will double your motivation. 1, you're no longer held back by failure, and 2, you see utility in failure. That's a beautiful combination. That concludes all of my strategies for today. I hope that you learned something and this shifted your mindset. I really hope you take notes because remember, this information is only useful if you put it to use. So write down what you want to implement and go about actually putting it into your life. You deserve to live a life where you are not held back by fear. You deserve to live a life where you have a powerful mindset. If you want more self-improvement content from me, you can check the links in the description for my socials. I'm on Instagram and TikTok. And don't forget to grab that free mindset guide. You can also join my weekly newsletter where I dive deeper into different self-improvement concepts, provide you lots of free value, lots of freebies. So if you want to get educated, feel free to join the community. The link is in the description. But all of that being said, I will see you in the next video. Mwah.